Coffee is a part of daily life for millions of people around the world, often associated with energy, productivity, and comfort, but when it comes to heart health, one of the most common questions I get as a cardiac surgeon is whether coffee is safe, and if so, how much is actually acceptable per day. And to answer this properly, we need to understand what coffee does inside the body, particularly how caffeine, its main active component, interacts with the cardiovascular system, because the effects of coffee are not simply good or bad. They are dose-dependent, individual-specific, and influenced by multiple factors including overall health, existing heart conditions, sleep patterns, and lifestyle habits. So let's begin with what happens when you drink coffee. Once consumed, caffeine is rapidly absorbed into the bloodstream and stimulates the central nervous system, leading to increased alertness and reduced fatigue, but at the same time it also has measurable effects on the heart and blood vessels. Caffeine can temporarily increase heart rate, raise blood pressure slightly, and stimulate the release of stress hormones like adrenaline, which is why some people feel palpitations or a sense of nervousness after drinking strong coffee. Now, for a healthy individual with no underlying heart disease, moderate coffee consumption is generally considered safe and may even have some protective benefits. Several studies have suggested that consuming around 2 to 3 cups of coffee per day may be associated with a lower risk of certain cardiovascular conditions, likely due to antioxidants and bioactive compounds present in coffee. However, this does not mean more is better, because beyond a certain point, the stimulatory effects of caffeine can outweigh the benefits, leading to increased blood pressure, disturbed sleep, anxiety, and in some cases irregular heart rhythms, which brings us to the important question of how much coffee is considered safe for most adults. A daily caffeine intake of up to 300 to 400 milligrams is generally regarded as safe, which roughly translates to about 2 to 4 cups of brewed coffee depending on the strength. But this is a general guideline and not a one-size-fits-all rule, because individual sensitivity to caffeine varies widely. Some people can tolerate 3 cups without any issues, while others may experience palpitations or sleep disturbances even after 1 cup, and this variability is influenced by genetic factors, metabolism, and existing medical conditions. Now let's consider specific groups of people where caution is necessary. For patients with high blood pressure, caffeine can cause a temporary spike in blood pressure, and while this effect may be mild in some individuals, in others it can be significant, especially if blood pressure is not well controlled. Therefore, such patients should monitor their response to coffee and limit intake accordingly. For patients with known heart rhythm disorders such as atrial fibrillation or frequent palpitations, excessive caffeine can act as a trigger and worsen symptoms. So moderation or even avoidance may be advisable depending on individual tolerance and medical advice. In patients recovering from heart surgery, including bypass or valve procedures, the body is in a sensitive healing phase, and while small amounts of coffee may be allowed after initial recovery, it is generally recommended to avoid high caffeine intake in the early weeks, focusing instead on hydration, balanced nutrition, and stable cardiovascular function. Another important factor to consider is how coffee is consumed, because it is not just the caffeine but also what is added to the coffee that impacts heart health. For example, coffee loaded with sugar, cream, or high-fat additives can contribute to weight gain, increased cholesterol levels, and poor metabolic health over time, which indirectly affects the heart. So if you choose to drink coffee, it is best to keep it simple, with minimal sugar and low-fat milk if needed. Timing also plays a crucial role. Consuming coffee late in the day can interfere with sleep, and poor sleep quality is strongly associated with higher blood pressure, increased stress hormones, and overall cardiovascular strain. So it is generally advisable to limit coffee intake to the earlier part of the day, ideally before mid-afternoon. Hydration is another key aspect, because caffeine has mild diuretic properties, meaning it can increase urine output, and if coffee replaces water intake rather than complementing it, it may contribute to dehydration, which can affect blood pressure regulation and overall circulation. So maintaining adequate water intake alongside coffee consumption is important. Now let's address a common myth. Many people believe that coffee is universally harmful for the heart, but this is not entirely accurate. When consumed in moderation and as part of a healthy lifestyle, coffee can be included safely for most individuals. The key is awareness and balance, understanding your own body's response, and not relying on coffee as a substitute for proper rest or nutrition. Another important point is dependency. Regular high intake of caffeine can lead to tolerance, where the same amount no longer provides the desired alertness, leading individuals to consume even more, which can create a cycle of overconsumption, increased stress on the body, and withdrawal symptoms such as headaches or irritability when caffeine is reduced. so it is always better to maintain a consistent and moderate intake rather than fluctuating between extremes. For individuals who are particularly sensitive to caffeine or have been advised to limit it, alternatives such as decaffeinated coffee or herbal beverages can be considered, which allow the enjoyment of a warm drink without the stimulatory effects. Ultimately, the goal is not to eliminate coffee completely unless medically necessary, but to use it wisely in a way that supports rather than disrupts your heart health. And to summarize the practical takeaways for a healthy adult, 1 to 3 cups of coffee per day is generally safe, provided there are no symptoms like palpitations, anxiety, or sleep disturbances. Patients with heart conditions should individualize their intake based on medical advice, avoid excessive caffeine, monitor their body's response, and focus on overall lifestyle factors such as diet, exercise, stress management, and sleep quality, because heart health is not determined by a single factor but by the combined effect of daily habits. So the next time you reach for a cup of coffee, do so with awareness, moderation, and an understanding of how it fits into your overall health. And if you are ever unsure, consult your doctor because personalized guidance is always the safest approach when it comes to your heart. And if you found this explanation helpful, consider sharing it with someone who drinks coffee daily, because small changes in everyday habits can make a big difference in long-term heart health.